It is the Flow Friday Sports Show here on Flow FM. It's the long weekend edition, and there's no games coming up in the Hume Netball competition this weekend. So we'll take a look at last week's games and address some other topics with Carla Fletcher, our resident Hume Netball expert, who joins me on the line. Carla, great to have you along. How are you?
I'm well, thanks, Ellis, and you're good?
Not doing badly at all, Carla. And the same goes for Osborne, who are untroubled. They've got a 100% record in the league so far, and it was effortless for them once again against Culcairn on the weekend. Just gone 54-18, the final result. And in the end, Culcairn, no match for the Osborne girls. You just wonder when they're going to slip up, if they're ever going to slip up. So what did you make of this game?
Look, Osborne, they had a pretty impressive win on the weekend, but they were out. One of their tall shooters, in Louise Madden, she was out, so they had a little bit of adjusting to do. They had a little bit of ups and downs trying to get it into the circle this week. So they've actually come away with a pretty good win, and their defenders worked really hard, and it was great to have Cypress Clay join the girls back on the court for Osborne, and she took home one of their awards along with Abby O'Connell. And award winners for Culcairn went to Stephanie Cook, Andrea Went, and Emily Pinnock. Osborne are still travelling along pretty well. They'd be pretty happy where they're sitting at the moment, this far into the season.
Do you feel as though, Carla, it's becoming a case increasingly of sides competing against Osborne just not being able to keep up as the game goes on? We've seen this trend throughout the season. You look at the third and fourth quarter of the game, and Osborne just free scoring and Culcairn just really unable to keep pace with them. Do you feel like sides are just exerting so much energy trying to match them defensively in the opening stanzas of games, and then they just fall away? Is that what's going on?
Yeah, look, I think so, and that goes along with the other couple of teams that are sitting up there in the top three positions, Ginger and How Long. I know all of those clubs have worked really hard in the off-season, so they're very fit, and as soon as they get a turnover and they just do some damage in that last quarter, I think everyone's working really hard trying to keep up with them and, keeping, within that 10, 15 goals, but then they just kind of punish you in that last quarter. They're very fit, they move the ball quickly, and, their shooters are just accurate. So I think that's been the key for those top three teams at the moment.
Well, the Billabong Crows, they are coming. There's no doubt about that. They're in the top four now, and a huge win for them against the CDHBU girls, 41-29 in the end. What were your takeaways from this game?
Yeah, look, and this was much the same as well. The first quarter was pretty tough for both teams, and even into the second quarter, the netball, they were pretty evenly matched up, and CDHBU, they took it to the Crows there in the first half. But look, the Crows girls then just settled down and, they came away with a fairly convincing win in the end. Best on went to Isabel Bush in wing defence, who had, great hands and pressure over the ball. And the incentive award went to Brooke Davies in goal defence, who made the opposition shooters work really hard for every ball. And look, both of the defenders for CDHBU, they worked really hard throughout the whole game, Courtney Haig and Rebecca Cusitt. But look, I think, their shooters just couldn't convert there towards the end. So that's where that big lead came for the Crows in the end, and they've come away with a fairly good win.
I'll tell you what, Ginger didn't have it all their own way against Lockhart. You would have expected that Ginger could probably go on and win by more than 21 points in this game. Well, I guess the big thing that we should cover here, Carla, is when you've got a sort of two-horse race going on, it becomes a case of looking at the actual score lines rather than just the results, because the results become fairly expected. So Gindera, not really convincingly beating Lockhart in the end. Comfortable enough win, but Lockhart is a side that have had their own troubles this season. Only a 21-point win in the end for Gindera. I guess this is music to Osborne's ears, you'd think.
Yeah, look, and Lockhart played one of their best games so far this season. I know it was up against Gindera, but they really worked on a few things at training, and I know their coach Beck she was really pleased with how the girls went on Saturday. Look, they stayed with Osborne Gindra for the first three quarters. They were within 10, 12 goals, and but it was just Gindra's quick movement and their turnovers in the last quarter, and they really did some damage for the Demons. And both shooters for Gindra, Chelsea Burns and Sam Creasy, they were just on point, and they just shot beautifully throughout the whole game. Chelsea Hosey, she's a young goal shooter for Lockhart, and she's just starting to display some maturity in the circle. She worked really hard against Shana Holland, who's a really experienced goalkeeper in the league, and she's played a lot of league games as well. And Ruby Hyde gave plenty of drive through the midcourt. So I think overall Lockhart was pretty pleased with their performance. But yeah, look, Ginger just did what they had to do, and they just got to get the wins and keep up there in wanting to keep in those top two positions.
All right, well, let's take a look at some other games. In fact, the game of the round, Holbrook just shading out the Murray Magpies by the solitary 33-32. What a game. Carla, must have been very end-to-end, this one.
Yeah, look, the Magpies have had, the last two games they've lost by a point, so they'd be pretty disappointing. It's really, you work really hard and to just go down by a goal, it's really disheartening. But look, I'm sure the Magpies are going to regroup over the break this weekend, and hopefully they haven't got any injured or sick players, and I think they'll be working themselves to come back to where they were at the beginning of the season. But look, Holbrook are travelling along really well. This is their fourth win in a row, and look, they just they're really positive on the court. It was a pretty tough physical game from both teams. And look, I think Holbrook were actually down going into the last quarter by 5 goals. But the girls really started to apply some pressure and get some turnovers, and they were rewarded with a 1-goal win. So well done to Holbrook. Their best players were Jess Rowe, Georgia Keogh and Brittany Deegan. So yeah, hopefully they'll be wanting to continue with a few more wins and stay up in the top 6.
Another close game, the Brocklesby Burrumbuttock Saints losing at home to the Giants in the end, 48-55. Handy win for the Giants, Carla.
Yeah, look, it was. And BB Saints, they started off fairly strong their first quarter. They've been working on that, trying to get themselves a good start in the game. And look, I think during the second quarter, they just opened the door for the Giants, who were really working hard and took in any opportunity they had, and they came away with a fairly convincing win there in the end. Best on for the Saints girls were Georgia Ellis, Liz Ellis and Tia DeAngry, and award winners for the Giants were Mel McClellan, who's really strong under the goalpost in goal shooter, and Brianna Higgins in goal defence, who really took some critical intercepts during the game.
Well, we'll finish on the game that certainly was not a close affair. How long? Too good for Henty, and it feels like most teams have been too good for Henty, unfortunately, this season. 76-36, the final score. What did you make of it?
Yeah, look, Henty, even though the score was quite big, Henty really worked hard, and they made the Howlong girls, they made them work hard for every goal that they scored. Best players for Howlong were Lily Smith in wing attack and centre, and also Gemma Coburn in wing defence. And Henty's Mel Wetton won the mug for feeding well into the shooters, and the coach's award went to Erin Hogan, who stepped up in the shooting circle against, Howlong's got some really strong defenders in there, so they're working really well. Henty's really, they're trying to build themselves up as a club, and they're heading in the right direction. You've got to take the court to do that. So, and the girls are going out there, with a brave face and giving it their all every week. So, yeah, but unfortunately they came up against Howlong last weekend.
Okay, well, we'll just take a look at the table, Carla. Now we've got Osborne and Gindera in first and second. You'd assume that's probably not going to change throughout now and the end of the season. But as far as third and fourth goes, Howlong in third, Billabong Crows in fourth, Do you see those two being able to stick to the top four, or do you think there might be some other outsiders that come up trumps and surprise a few people in the next few rounds?
Look, no, I think the first, second, third and fourth positions will, those four teams will stay up there. They might change around a little bit depending on how they go on the day against each other. But I think the critical positions to look at are that 5, 6 and 7 and maybe even 8th position and 9th really. Depending on who they're playing in that double round that we have at the end of the season. So anyone could kind of sneak up into that 5th and 6th position. But I'm sure Holbrook and CDHB will be fighting hard to keep their spot there.
Carla Fletcher, that's where we'll leave it. Thanks so much for your time, and we'll speak to you again next week.
Thanks, Alice, and have a great long weekend, everyone, and enjoy some time off netball or footy or whatever, and do something nice for the weekend.
You too, Carla. Thanks so much.
Okay. Was that 8 minutes?